Hello, everyone. I just wanted to kind of go over some things I've added since my last update. Um, Last couple ones I didn't do any audio because I just wanted to do something quick. So this time, I'm gonna actually do like a video or an audio, um, you know, description as I go by, kind of just to help show you what I've been working on. Um, so as you can see, I've added an options menu now. So there are things you can mess with here. There's a help menu, it tells you the controls and all that, which is really nice. And I suppose if you want to read it all, there's them go a little slower. Gonna go down, yeah. It's a little bit out of date. I need to update the actual text in there, but for the most part, it's accurate. Then we have a master volume and a sound effects volume control now. So if you know increase and decrease the volume of the sound effects, master volume increases everything around the board. So, I don't have the master volume controls everything right now, and all the effects I have in the game right now are just sound effects. I don't have any like music or anything. So as it is now, this is the one that you use really to control all the volume. Um, I like setting it a little higher around here, but the default, as I set it low, just to um, not blast anyone in the ears when they start the game. I also have a text size. Now you can like adjust the text size. It also adjusts the size of the UI. So there's that. There's also now a resolution setting. Um, so if we go over here, you can set to the various resolutions. If you look at, I also added an FPS counter down here. So like if I switch something to a really big resolution, you can see it's actually affecting my thing. I'm getting lower FPS because it's rendering at a high resolution. Of course, you can have a ginormous thing where, we're only running at a really low resolution. Change the text size to be smaller. Um, yeah, there's that. So that works. I personally like keeping it around this. Just easier. Um, Easier to see everything at this resolution, I think, and it's kind of like what I base the resolution of the game as I was creating it. We got a VSync enabled and disabled now. There's no real reason why your screen should be tearing, but if you do have those issues, then you gotta enable VSync, and it actually does work. But I haven't seen any screen tearing on my end, but I know it in fact works and is implemented. I also have a full window mode. I don't. You can't really see it probably from your capture view, but it's actually, you know, when making the window big or small. Um, and then I have this color palette. So in the game, there is a shader running, and the palette, um, the default palette can be swapped to other color palettes. So personally, this is the default one. I think this is what looks best. But you can change to something with more colors, or you can even go, like black and white or something like that. Um, so we'll see how that does. What people say about that. Um, Let me think. Okay. So trying to think, some things I added since last time. I've updated the model of the cabin that you stay in now. I've also added a sleep mechanic. As you see, it is now daytime. You can, of course, pet the cat, which everybody likes. There are items you can either pick up, holding the E button, or if you want to add the item to your inventory, you can hold F. There is now a notification on the side. Gives you a short description of what you picked up and all that. Same thing with this. I'll probably change it so the text for that pop-up only appears when you're near it at some point. But I was kind of just working on a pickup system, so there's that. Um, you know, I have a computer screen here now. Before, the menu was only it was like a pop-up and it wasn't actually on the screen. But now I have it enabled so you can actually like interact with the computer screen itself, so it's not just a pop-up. So, you know, you can switch to different tabs and stuff and get different items. I got some test items in the constructibles. I still haven't developed that whole system yet. But for now, you can buy substrates. Just buy one of everything. I'll show you how things work. Um, we've got different cultures. This is for growing your mushrooms. You know, it tells you the price at the bottom. I don't know if you caught that earlier, but we have that there. Um, but no, that's to open the menu. I need to fix that to enable or to click on things. It's not just a single click; it's a double click. That took me a while to figure out too. I don't know why it was so hard, but I figured that out. Right now, my computer does nothing, but there is a menu down here, and you can turn off the system, and you get logged out. There's that. Or alternatively, you could just push E again, and it automatically knocks you out. Right now, this model doesn't do anything, but you know, it's there. I was going to have a whole setup where you do, you know, inoculate the cultures and stuff, but for right now, I have a very simple system set up for that. Um, this doesn't do anything right now, but you can interact with that. It's got like an animation and everything. Now, if we go to my inventory, you know, the things I bought in that computer menu, you can use. Right now, these don't have any things attached to it, but with this, you can, you know, take out your substrates that you just bought, use them to create your little pit here. So I'll also show how you kind of go through and make a basic setup for setting up a culture for your farm. It's getting dark, so maybe we'll take out our flashlight. So, you know, this was in the last version, but I also added some slight effects to it. You can kind of see there is a fog cone, like for visual effects. And so, like, if there's particles in the way or something like that, it'll interact with it now. I don't have anything right now, but I'll show that off later. But um, for now, I think I'm going to take a little sleep to show that the system still works. Yep, I slept. It's daytime again. Fantastic. Um, so we now have an indicator at the bottom. I don't know if you saw if I was messing with that, but there is now an indicator at the bottom of the UI. It tells you that you have your items out. So you have the flashlight as you've seen before, but we also have the shovel. You can have both out at the same time or neither out. You know, show that off. And this here is a little thing where you can dig holes. You can dig as many holes as you want. You know, this is the basis for setting up your very basic farm. And now I've added a whole indicator system. It tells you what they're missing. So in this case, we're missing everything. We're missing a substrate. We're missing a culture, and we're missing its environmental needs, which is represented by the tree. You'll find that you know we have the substrate here. So the way this works is you're supposed to put it next to the hole you want to add the substrate to, and then it says press interact to open. In this case, it's E. So now we can see we can't inoculate it yet because we don't have a substrate set. But once we place a substrate, we close that, and now you see there's an indicator saying that yes, you have a substrate for this hole. And, you know, as you can see, it doesn't affect the other ones because they don't have a substrate. So it's per instance, which is good. That took me a while to figure out. I realized I had to change some settings to make it so that it's individual resource. And now we can inoculate it. We have all sorts of cultures we can inoculate with. As it is right now, some cultures work with um, the substrate and some others don't. In this case, the blue oyster, I believe, works the best with hay, which is what I just planted. If you notice, it says it grows on hay. But if we, let's say, plant something that grows on a log substrate, it says, okay, you have a culture in there, but if you interact with it, it gives you this notification. The substrate is not suitable for this culture, so no mushrooms will grow. So unfortunately, we can't use this anymore. So what we're going to have to do is destroy this. So what we can do is hold the R button, but it won't immediately destroy it, so you don't accidentally destroy something. But if you hold it down all the way to the max, come on, there we go. It destroys it, and that's no longer there. So let us go get a new culture bag. So we'll get a substrate. We'll bring it over to this hole. We'll interact with it. Place the substrate. Now let's place a good culture here. So we need a blue oyster culture. That looks good. So now we have both things here. It doesn't give you the same message as before. So what we need to do now is add an environment that is suitable for this culture. In this case, we need some trees. So I'm going to go grab some trees. There are two ways you can grab trees. You can either, just interact with them and bring them over here. But you can also use the build system. So if we hold down B, we switch modes, and you can see we have this new mode here. Maybe I'll kind of go back and make it daytime so it's easier to see what I'm doing. So now that we're back here, switch back to build mode. I can go like this, but you can pick up trees this way. Rotate them, rotate whatever you want. Place another tree here. In this case, this culture needs 3 trees. So now that we have 3 trees here, it is now fully cultured. But what you can do, there are different. You can also just see an indicator of what's going on with the culture. So as you can see, there's a little. If we go into first-person mode, you can kind of see there's a little bit of visual indicator, like it's going in the right direction. We got some good culture growth there. But if let's say we remove the trees completely, you'll see that it should. I kind of forget how big the area is for this thing there. Okay, there we go. You'll see that there is no growth on this. You'll see that some mushrooms did spawn because we had all 3 of those trees there. So let's move these back so that we can hopefully get better culture growth. Alright, so I pick them up by holding E. You can see it kind of picked it up while I was in building mode. I'm going to have to disable that in building mode, I guess. That's something I didn't realize was an issue. But we have blue oyster mushrooms in here. It kind of tells you the needs of the mushroom. Right now, the light needs don't do anything, but the biome value is accurate, and there are going to be water requirements also in the future, so that's also in there. But right now, the only thing that really affects it is the biome and the trees right now. But right, you can't use this one, so let's just go grab a few of these, and I'll show you how you make money in this game. So in order to make money, you can sell the mushrooms at this kiosk here. I might change this in the future to like where there's a truck or something. You kind of that right now. There's just this little kiosk here. We can sell everything that we have in our inventory. And tell you, you can either click through the items or you can kind of do this. If you use the scroll wheel, you can add them all like that. That's fantastic, right? All right, so let's sell that. We got some money back. So you kind of repeat that process. That's the basic idea. But there's a couple other things I want to show off. Like once you reach, because each of the cultures have a certain amount of mushrooms they can spawn before they get tired. So we'll wait a little while for this to stop growing stuff. And as this culture gets older, it produces stuff faster. Yep, there you go. The substrate is exhausted, so no more mushrooms will grow. That means you have to get rid of it. So let's get rid of this. There we go. That's gone. That's kind of the basic process. There's a couple other things I added. I also added some new zones. There is like the black market area and the town. There's nothing really in them right now. We'll go to the town. I'll kind of show you that area. There's nothing really there, but it's there. It's this huge space that I've set up to build a town. It's literally nothing right now, but it's there. Let's head back. Uh, oh dear, it's too dark. I think I need to make the flashlight brighter. I need Oh dear, it's pitch black. Oh, well, that's basically what I've added. Um, you know, you guys get the idea. Kind of. Thanks for listening in. Even if there's no one actually listening to this, it's just something for myself to kind of document my process. Um, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.